One of our top stories this morning on the 5th anniversary of the Sandy Hook Elementary School Massacre. Dozens of Missoulians filled the foyer of Paxton Elementary School yesterday to remember the slain and work for change in America's gun laws. Moms demand action for gun sense. Be Smart Montana lead Danette Fadness explained the purpose of the gathering last night.
We're not going to be quiet anymore. Enough is enough, and something needs to be done. Congress needs to do something to pass laws to help keep our people safe. We find that in states that have background checks for all gun sales, domestic violence and women dying from intimate partners is reduced by 47%. So there are things that we can do, and we're just asking that people think about that.
Trauma program manager at Providence St. Patrick Hospital, Michelle Cole, was in Las Vegas with her family and was able to escape the mass shooting there, but then returned to help other victims with her husband. Cole said she's become part of a movement to help better prepare people for the possibility of a mass shooting wherever it may happen.
Because I am a trauma program manager at St. Patrick Hospital, requesting for us to do is actually teach Stop the Bleed. Teach people how to place tourniquets, teach people how to stop bleeding, because like this situation, people can't get in. The EMTs can't get in, so it's the civilians that are taking care of each other.
According to the website Everytown for Gun Safety, continued gun violence is taking the lives of 93 Americans a day. Law enforcement officers say they found 8 pounds of methamphetamine in a spare tire during a traffic stop in Stillwater County. The Billings Gazette reported yesterday the officers said the man driving the vehicle claimed he had been visiting Yogi Bear in Yellowstone National Park before being pulled over. The driver, 31-year-old Manuel Paz Sanchez Jr., was charged with possessing meth with intent to distribute. Sanchez was originally pulled over for tailing a vehicle too closely. He waived a preliminary hearing. The case will be presented to a grand jury before indictment. Sanchez remains in custody, and booking documents do not indicate if he has hired an attorney. At about 4:30 Wednesday afternoon, Missoula police were called to a residence in the 1400 block of West Broadway. Police spokesman Travis Wells said explained what happened when officers arrived.
Probation officers had made contact with an individual identified as Nathan Thomas, 25 years of age. Mr. Thomas apparently had an outstanding warrant, and the probation officers passed him off to a Missoula police officer who transported him to the Missoula County Detention Center.
Welsh said Thomas was charged with several new crimes once he arrived at the detention center.
While he was changing clothes, detention officers discovered that he had in his possession what appeared to be methamphetamine and marijuana. Those suspicions were later confirmed, and Mr. Thomas is being held today for drug-related offenses as well as for a pre-release violation.
Thomas is being charged with a felony for his possession of methamphetamine, but only a misdemeanor for marijuana because it was his first offense. Montana Governor Steve Bullock has appointed a district court judge in Billings to fill a vacancy on the Montana State Supreme Court. Bullock's office yesterday announced Judge Ingrid Gustafson will replace Justice Mike Wheat, who's retiring at the end of the year. Gustafson was appointed in 2004 to the 13th Judicial District in Yellowstone County. She previously worked as a staff attorney for the Social Security Administration and in private practice. Gustafson received her law degree from the University of Montana. Wheat was appointed to Montana's High Court in 2010 and re-elected in 2014. He had 5 years remaining in his 8-year term. The Bozeman resident announced his retirement in July, saying it was time to start a new chapter in his life. In September, Apple released iOS 11 for products like the iPhone. The new update includes emergency SOS software that's accessible by clicking the power button 5 times and then swiping to call emergency services. The service is supposed to call 911 and send emergency responders a GPS location. Nick Holloway with Missoula Emergency Services tested the software. It says it works, though not precisely.
It gives some location information. It doesn't necessarily give precise location information. When we tested it, it was about 0.2 of a mile off, which certainly can be helpful, and it might not always be that distance off. It might be closer or farther, but that certainly would be helpful in an emergency situation.
Extra medical information can be added to the iPhone as well, but not everyone owns an iPhone. Holloway advises all Missoulians to register instead with Smart 911, which can be used no matter who makes your phone.
Smart 911 allows them to create a safety profile that will pop up on a 911 dispatcher screen when you call 911, and that will include what we call critical care information, and that will rise to the top allowing us to relay that information to responders en route to the emergency. It also allows us to send out reverse alerts, and we used it extensively this year during the wildfires.
Signing up for Smart 11 can simply be done by visiting smart911.com. The system not only gives emergency responders more information about those they're trying to help, it also allows Smart 911 users to receive warnings like evacuation notices more quickly. U.S. Department of Education offered positive feedback to Montana education officials regarding their efforts to comply with the Every Student Succeeds Act. Dylan Clapmeyer, spokesman for Montana Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arntzen, said a conference call was held between Helena and Washington, D.C. this week to discuss the issue. Clapmeyer said one of the complications that Montana faces is its extreme rural nature.
Montana is one of the most frontier states in the country. You know, we've got over 400 school districts spread out across the whole state, and many of those are very rural school districts, very small ones. So one issue that we're running into is we've got about 90 schools across the state that have fewer than 10 students, and so there's a challenge there in making sure that we're protecting student privacy.
Another complication for Montana is the chronically low test scores for schools on Montana's reservations and how state agencies are teaming up to help the entire communities.
In talking to the Department of Education, they, out in Washington, D.C., are obviously not here on the ground working with those communities. So that is the spirit of the Every Student Succeeds Act, though, is to close student achievement gaps among various student groups. And that's something that Superintendent Arntzen and the OPI here are very passionate about.
Arntzen will submit Montana's plan to the Department of Education by December 28th. You can find links to the OPI report and ways to comment on our website, newstalkkgvo.com. Finally, Yellowstone National Park set to open for the winter season. The Billings Gazette reports the park will open for the public today for motorized over snow travel. Our News Talk time now is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Areas of freezing fog expected this morning, then increasing cloud cover with temperatures in the mid to low 30s. A winter weather advisory goes in effect tonight. We'll see as much as 1 to 3 inches of snowfall with a light accumulation expected Saturday. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster, KECI 13.